So it's been a few years now, actually more than a few, since I last did a look around my game room. Um, the layout is the same. I haven't done any remodeling in the sense of adding walls or knocking down walls. Um, I think the artwork might be a little different. I've added this Warhammer picture here, which like changes. It's like one of those. I forget what you call those, but changes images. Still got U.S. Grant there. Can't ignore him. He's my favorite American. But I think these pictures were here last time, but I don't remember. But these are some of the GMT covers that Roger McGowan has done. He sells these on his C3I website. And so I ordered these and he sent them to me. He signed them, although I didn't like pay. Like you can pay to have him sign them, but he just signed them anyway. I didn't pay to have signed versions of these, but he signed them, and he sent me extra ones too. So if you ever order these from him, I don't know if he'll send extras to people, but he's done that for me. I started ordering these like right when he first offered them, so he may have done it as a promotional thing. And I posted some pictures to Facebook that he used to show, that hey, this is kind of what he intended these to be used for, people to hang them up in their game rooms or whatever. So I had picked Successors and Onward Christian Soldiers. I liked both of those covers a lot. Some people badmouth McGowan's work, clip art and so forth, but I've always kind of liked it. It always had a scholarly look to it because he would use these, older images that, are pulled from either old lithographs or chromolithographs or stuff like that. And I just always liked the look of it, of that kind of drawing, but yeah, he's, clipping stuff out and assembling them in collages. I mean, I don't know. I think there's a certain scholarly look to it that I like. For most of his covers over here, I've got a number of covers from the great battles of the American Civil War, as well as one from the Glory series here, just because it was in a similar style to these. So ordered these as well. And then one of the bonus ones, he sent Samurai as a bonus one and Gettysburg as a bonus one. When I did two separate orders, and he threw in these extra ones. So over here is, I've been collecting these little bottles to store stuff in. Like, I've got more than I can use, obviously, because a lot of them are sitting here empty. But from my wife and I get a selection of meals from a place called Home Chef, where it's like, you can pick different menus for meals during the week and make them. They just come with all the ingredients portioned out appropriately. Then you can cook and assemble the meals. But a lot of their food components, they send in those little plastic containers. So I've been saving them to use for storage for hobby and crafting components. So there's all my issues of White Dwarf that I have, sorted paints, supplies, collection of dice, mostly for Blood Bowl, with some Necromunda in there as well. Over here is the painting station. Again, I've got more artwork hanging here of different Civil War pictures because I'm a big Civil War buff. But this little alcove here in the basement, which when I someday finish this basement, it's actually not finished, despite the fact there is some drywall. There's a closet for storage here, and over there is drywalled in around the utility room, so furnace and water heater and stuff is over there. But the rest of it is just painted concrete. So it's basically, the rest of it is unfinished. There is a roughed-in ceiling, but eventually I would like to redo the ceiling and put can lights in instead of these lights, these spotlights. The spotlights are good because when I am playing games that have weird shaped maps or whatever, I can use these modular tables that I got from IKEA, which was an idea I stole from Callendale. Um, but you can, if you're arranging these tables in different ways, based on your map layout or however much space you need. Right now they're all in kind of generic rectangles, but I've had to rearrange them into weird shapes or add one, to the end here. It's nice to be able to have these directional spotlights that you can aim wherever your tables and map parts are, but it's still with the just like outlets that were available there in the ceiling when I moved in. There was only 5 in the basement down here, and so I had to try and maximize as many spotlights as I could on those outlets. But eventually, when I redid the basement, I'd like to just put can lights all the way across the ceiling, just sprinkle them in there so that I don't have to worry about aiming spotlights or anything. Additionally, I'll put directional spotlights in where the shelves are. The idea would be to make all these shelves, which are right now just IKEA Billy shelves. The idea would be to make them, to put built-in shelves all around the wall. The question will be if I redo the room in the future of whether this area here is where my wife does her workouts and where I occasionally work out myself, but she works out way more than I do. The question will be whether we want to build in a little room for her to work out in, so she can have that space to herself, and then have the rest of the basement be for gaming. Because there's no tables there, so I don't use that space anyway. The question is whether we would run a wall out from here to the support, run the wall over to there, that pillar, and then at that pillar go back. I think that would be, if I did it like how it is now, it wouldn't take up any space that I'm not currently using, but it would also be visually disruptive to the layout of the room. So you'd have this weird sort of, area back here if you had a wall coming in along there to the wall. So what we may do for a workout room is just take this back corner, so still where the support beam is here, run the wall over to there, and then run the wall over to there, and then that corner would be the workout room, which would leave a much more open space here. Sorry for whipping the camera around too fast, but would leave a much more open and less interrupted space, but still leave her own workout space that she could have. So if I'm down here hobbying or whatever, she can go in there and do her workouts and not worry about disturbing me or, whatever. So that would be future plans. But we have a lot more work to do in the house before the basement, before we spend oodles of money redoing the basement, which is really just fine as it is right now. All of those types of remodeling things, putting drywall in, built-in shelves, for the paint alcove here, this would probably be a closet for more storage. I think I would probably just put closet doors across here. But then I would technically lose my painting space as well, but I don't know. There's still lots of room down here. I could move the painting space over to this wall over here, or it could be over in that wall over there. So things to think about. Obviously the shelves, if we put a wall in, the shelves would come out and go around the wall there instead of back into the corner like they do now. Because I would still need all the same shelf space that I have. Obviously the collection fills up all of this space and it's still growing. So, but I think last time I did this, I did not have painting set up over here. Indeed, this painting has been why I've done fewer videos over the last couple of years than I used to do. And that's mainly because I've been painting more than I've been wargaming. Not that I haven't been wargaming, but I haven't filmed as much just because I've been painting more. But I certainly am still collecting lots of war games and non-war games, which are down there. But my detour into getting back into some Games Workshop stuff and then painting a lot of my board game pieces. My big focus right now has been painting Hero Quest, and I'm finishing up the Barbarian and the main bad guy from the main box set, plus the Warlock character, which one of the guys in my gaming group is currently playing, since we're trying to run a Hero Quest campaign. So I wanted to I've got the base box painted except for those 2 characters, plus then I've painted 2 of the first 2 expansions and have more expansions yet to paint. So, and then waiting in the wings is all the good guys over there for War of the Ring. Still working on that. There's a couple other odds and ends sitting there on the table, but I've been taking a little break from painting as I've been getting back into doing some more wargaming videos. And this was just recently did a video in Grand Havoc here, which is the Battle of Perryville from the Blind Sword system. But my shelves are a little, like I put a corner shelf in, I think, since the last video, and sort of adjusted the shelves around the windows here. Again, these are all Billy shelves that I'm using, and originally they didn't quite fit right around the windows. And in fact, like there's a corner shelf fit there, just barely, but the way the shelves spaced out, there was not room to fit a corner shelf back there in that corner. So there's no, nice angled corner shelf down at that end, which is fine. That's all like the Euros and Ameritrash and Games Workshop and Minis stuff down there. So we'll make our way over there shortly. But the layout of these, I think, is largely similar to what it used to be. Last time I did this, there's Compass Games. I try and group everything by publisher. And then by publisher, I've actually organized them where I can by the actual numbers on the box. So it's kind of like by publisher and by release, at least for Compass. The other, I don't think I've paid too much attention. Yeah, like you can see here, the numbers are out of order for Legion because I don't have enough of them to really care. And then other games, again, if I don't have enough, or it's just by series or whatever for other publishers. But that's Legion and GDW stuff there. You've got some of the Vento Nuovo games here. Lock and Load, the only place I could find to fit in the RBM Studio Deluxe games, Gettysburg and Waterloo. And then the only place I could find to fit, these are MMP, but MMP is over, a couple shelves over. But the only place I could fit these massive things from The Greatest Day and from Sword Juno and Gold and Utah Beach were here, with the other big flat boxes from Vento Nuovo. Same thing, Crusade and Revolution, Compass Games box, only couldn't find a place to fit that with the rest of the Compass collection, so it sits down here. All the Decision Games flat boxes also kind of loosely clustered here, as well as the D-Day at Tarawa, and then the TSR imprint of SPI games I put here, even though the rest of my SPI games are over there. And then Clash of Arms games are all here as well. And then on the bottom shelves is going to be not many games. There are some games, just because I don't have room, I've had to expand down to the bottom shelves, but usually in a basement in Indiana, you don't want to put stuff that's particularly valuable on those bottom shelves in case your basement floods. An important note for anybody who has a basement, make sure when you get a house, even if it's got a sump pump in it, to make sure you get a sump pump rider added to your insurance so that if your basement floods from the sump pump failing, your insurance will pay for it. If you don't have a sump pump rider, they won't pay for it. So just a pro tip, make sure that your policy has that sump pump rider on it, because they don't just automatically add it on there. You have to ask for it. So SPI games here, as well as old Avalon Hill titles. And again, I think these are organized by number. No, not really. Some of them are out of order. like 32 and 31 are out of order. They had been, probably the last time I shuffled it around, I didn't pay very close attention, or some of them have shifted over the years. But anyway, more of the old vintage, a couple of SPI soapboxes, some DBG games down there at the bottom, magazines are in that blue thing. Yeah, the Avalon Hill. And then I've got most of the Victory games, war games. There's a couple that are missing from the collection. Some of the, what's the solo game? Not, Ambush. Like Ambush expansions and stuff are largely missing. But otherwise I have most of these, and I think these are also, I've organized by number on the side of the box, so basically organized by release date, I think. And then over to MMP and the Gamers, most of the Civil War games up there. Some of the old, there's a couple of these old Avalon Hill titles. I went ahead and stuck them here though, just to keep the series together, of the great campaigns of the American Civil War. And then you can see, starting with Deck 2 there, we've got a number of the OCS games, not all of them. And then I think that's all of the BCS games. Can't remember if there's one in there that I didn't get. Maybe, I don't remember. Then SCS, so these are largely grouped by series, as you can see. And then we get into Clash of Arms. These are the big Napoleonic La Bataille series games, have the big weird shaped boxes that don't fit neatly in here like the rest of these older Clash of Arms and the Battles from the Age of Reason titles. And then moving from Clash of Arms, we get into the Zucker Operational Studies Group Library of Napoleonic Battles, which, based on, you know, all of the more recent MMP releases over the years, has pushed the OSG games down onto the bottom shelf, which, again, usually I didn't have stuff down there. You can see it's mostly binders and magazines and things like that, but there are some games that are down there. Again, trying to keep my war games on this side, and then Euros and Ameritrash and stuff on the other side. Old Avalon Hill flat boxes up here, as well as some Yaquinto titles, Wings, Beast Lord, Murfreesboro, and then some of the little mini box Avalon Hill games up there. And then we get into the GMT stuff, and these are also organized sort of chronologically by subject, but also by series. So like starting out with Great Battles of History, that's organized by series. And then this, I've struggled with this the most because I have more GMT games than anything else in terms of how to actually organize the shelves. Would I do it this way and, you know, get all the way to the bottom and then start here and go down? So what I ended up doing was just going across like this, and then to here. And then when we get down to here, then like went to World War II, World War I, and then it was like, do I go over here? Like decisions. What I ended up doing, I think it stays with World War II along that bottom shelf, and then jumps up World War II up to here. But then I kind of grouped stuff by like the Hunter series together. And then some of it also boils down to what boxes I can fit. So you have to do a lot of reshuffling when you get different size boxes to try and get things to work out the way you want to. So then you group things like, well, I put all the flight games here then, because I can fit all these boxes here easier than I can over there. So yeah, it's all the stuff you have to think about when you're trying to make some sort of organization on your shelves, to make them make sense. But yeah, it's ultimately, and then, you know, I stuck the shelves themselves because the mid shelf is fixed. So you can't move the middle shelf on all, which is, you know, this shelf here. is fixed, so you can adjust the other shelves around it, but this one's always going to be here, so that also limits what you can do. So that's why I have these sort of weird narrow areas where you have to figure out what goes there. So it worked out well to fit the Commands and Colors series up there, fit the Great Statesman series up there, and then, you know, odds and ends like the Red Flag over Paris in 1989 type games that don't slot in, or that are weird shaped boxes in the case of the Red Flag over Paris, that may not fit in with more traditional war games that fill up these shelves. So sorry, hopefully I'm not whipping the camera around too much, but trying to focus on the shelves. I know people like to look through other people's shelves. That's why people do videos about their shelves. I enjoy looking at other people's collections because I have a collection of my own that I enjoy. So, you know, we all have these interests, and so we take advantage of them. At the bottom here is where I couldn't fit other things. Like there's all of my Hollandspiel games that I'm able to fit down there, as well as old 3W games, and I think the old Famous Victory and Fields of Glory, the old Richard Berg titles that I can't remember what publisher that even is. Moments in History. I don't know if Moments in History ever published anything else but those two games. Couldn't tell you. You can see down here, like I've cleared out stuff that was there. I got my Magic Realm binders down there. More GMT games here. This jumps from World War II, more World War II there, but then it moves to modern era. Then it moves to coin, well, not quite modern because there's Prime Minister, but I just put it next to Mr. President because, I don't know, thematically it seemed like those could be next to each other, even though Prime Minister takes place in the Victorian age. But then coin series games, and then what's it called? Levy and Campaign games there. Just tossed Twilight Struggle in there ahead of the Next War series and the MBT series. And then things like, you know, what do you do with the non-historical war games? Just threw those down there. Dominant Species, the Space Empires, and Plum Island Horror. And then Richard III, my only Columbia block game, I think, that I actually own. Here, got the AWE games, La Révolution Française, La Grande Guerre, Europa Universalis, and Russia 1917. And then here, all the ASL stuff. I don't really play ASL, but I've collected these because it is a guaranteed return on investment. Well, that stuff will always make its money back because ASL is a lifestyle game, and the people that play it will always want it, and it frequently goes out of print, so it holds its value and gains in value. Worthington Games, I've added a lot of these over the past several years, so they've got their own shelf now. Even sort of spilling over to here with Divine Right. I know that says Pungo Games on it, but that's like Worthington is the publisher, and they've created another label probably to do like sci-fi and fantasy titles, which is Divine Right's an old fantasy game. World in Flames Classic. Got some Flying Pig stuff here with the old school tactical games. And The Most Fearful Sacrifice up there, which is the Gettysburg game. And then Invasions, which was the what's his name? Philippe Thibault, I believe, the guy that was behind the old Azure Wish Editions series and the creator of Europa Universalis. Created a new game that kickstarted a number of years ago that, it needed some work. And there was supposed to be more, because this says Volume 1, but I think he had enough. Went back to doing video games, PC strategy games. Then some Hexasim games, some One Small Step, the Huzzah series. Napoleon at Bay, just because I couldn't, it's technically OSG, but I ran out of room down there. Although, I don't know why I put it over here, with the Liberator, just to have some Napoleon X stuff, I think, clustered together. And then Revolution games there, Eagle in the Sky, and the Blind Swords games. Those are these Ziplocs that are sitting there, more Blind Sword stuff. Another Hexasim game here. This was Napoleon against Europe, which I need to bust that out again. I got it out at one point, but stalled out on it and never got back to it. Oh yeah, I did throw in a couple of odds here too. This War Without an Enemy, which is a nuts block game, and Guns of Gettysburg. There's the SPW World War I series of games there. Sword and Sorcery, Dungeon Crawler, War of the Ring. So the war games are going to start giving way to Ameritrash and Euros. But there's Republic of Rome. That's the Valley Games reprint of the old Avalon Hill title there. And then, yeah, we get into some of my more hard to find and or valuable things. A couple splatter games here, Indonesia and Zimbabwe. Some of the Blast City and Pit of Eternal Darkness, Pit of Infinite Darkness. I don't remember the actual publisher, Uncave Evil, or even if it says on the box there. But this was finally reprinted after, I got my copy, I think maybe 10 years ago. The last time it was in print, but just reprinted recently, or is reprinting soon. So it's a great game, fantastic art, very unique. These are collector games. This is the Mushroom Eaters here. This is another, same designer that did Cave Evil. This game's got a 3D board and just crazy. It's about taking mushrooms and going on a trip with your friends. And then a number of their, the same designer, same publisher, have like Psycho Raiders and what else do I have in here? I think, yeah, Freak Face. I think I did a video on in the past. Rocky Mountain Man, which was like a roll and write type of game from that same publisher. Sea Evil. I think Callendale's covered most of these as well. And then, yeah, what was this one called? This was more recent. There it is. The House on the Borderland. But just incredible artwork on these games. And they're some of probably my most valuable games that I own. Then an old classic that I loved when I was a kid, Gamma Marauders. Got the expansion in there as well. A couple of old Iron Crown Enterprises games, Fellowship of the Ring and Riddle of the Ring. So I thought I'd stick the War of the Ring card game next to it. These are also sort of organized by publisher, but there's some exceptions just because boxes are weird size. Like War of the Ring is Ares. Technically the War of the Ring card game should be with that. Compass is over here, but Burning Banners is a fantasy game. So, I just try and make do where I can. But another valuable game here, the Glory to Rome Black Box, which I think people that kickstarted this, some people probably never got their Kickstarters. I just walked into my friendly local game store and bought this off the shelf at the time. So, $40 or $50 or whatever, and it's probably worth like $300 now. This was a more recent war game here, Fate of All, from Thin Red Line. This is like a Alexander, like operational level sort of Conquest of Alexander type game. So I look forward to trying that out soon. Distilled, I picked up at Gen Con this year. I played it last year at Gen Con, but it was sold out at the time. But it's a very fun worker placement Euro, especially if you enjoy spirits, and I do. This is the Phalanx Games reprint of Successors, which I have partially painted. I need to get back to and finish painting the pieces for it, because I would really enjoy playing this with the painted minis. It's the brass Kickstarter from a number of years ago. Wingspan, Chip Theory Games, Cloud Spire, and then Burn Cycle is down there. Zombicide, you've got Green Horde, Black Plague, and was in on the Kickstarter for the second edition of the game. So I don't know, there's a ton of expansions for that. Get some of the legendary card games down there from Upper Deck. I enjoy those. The Bond one, as big a fan as I am of Aliens, it might be the weakest of those three. I do love Big Trouble in Little China and the Bond one. Annihilageddon down there, hilarious deck builder with great artwork. And then over here is all the Forbidden Fortress, Shadows of Brimstone stuff. When working on painting these, I painted all of Forbidden Fortress and most of the Temple of Shadows expansion. I still have a ton of stuff to paint for it. I do have Fortune and Glory. Yeah, Fortune and Glory, I painted that as well. Relic is painted. Most of the busts are painted. I painted, I think, one of the busts so far for the Nemesis expansion. There's like 5 or 6 more for the 2 expansions. Painted Rebellion as well. That's fun to play with painted minis just because there's so many minis all over the map. But yeah, now we're getting down into Fantasy Flight stuff. Painted Fury of Dracula. Painted some of Mansions of Madness, not all of it. I did paint all the Lord of the Rings, Journeys of Middle Earth, but not the expansion. Excuse me. Painted Chaos in the Old World. That's another one that's fun to have painted because there's so many little demons and cultists and monsters and stuff running around all over the map. Clank Acquisitions Incorporated. I have not played that yet, but would really like to. Pandemic Legacy I have played. I don't think I finished Pandemic Legacy though, but got pretty far into it. Up here, collection of some GW artwork and some bourbon bottles, and then counter clippings collected in various bourbon, gin, and rum bottles. And then I've been collecting the Woodford Reserve Kentucky Derby bottles because the artwork on them is pretty cool every year. These are facade games. They're book collection games. So Salem, Tortuga, Deadwood, Bristol, and Hollywood is their latest one. There's the Conan game. This will be my next big painting project. I would really love to paint as much of this as I can. I doubt I will ever paint it all because there's like 500 miniatures for it, but they're really nice. Monolith put out a really great product and a really great game, so I look forward to someday having that all painted. There's the G.I. Joe deck builder sort of hiding back here with all the expansions. I picked up the expansions at Gen Con this year because I'd picked up the original game a couple years ago at Gen Con, and you can get good promo stuff there for the games at Gen Con, and it's a great, fun deck builder. And then some of the, Sierra Madre games, I'm now drawing a blank on the designer's name, but it did High Frontier and Pax Porfiriana, Bios Megafauna, Bios Genesis. So those are all pretty interesting games. Very hard science, some of them, like High Frontier. Lord of the Rings card game from Fantasy Flight down here. And a number of expansions, not all of them though. I sort of eventually petered out on collecting these. There's also a couple of the Arkham Horror expansion boxes there, but most of the Arkham Horror cards, or in fact all of them, are in these expansion boxes, the Return to plus the base box there. There's also Aliens, the Gale Force 9 Aliens game, plus all the minis for that, and that was one of the things that kickstarted my return to painting, was to paint all of the Aliens, because I've got enlarged maps of the old Leading Edge Aliens game from 1989, which is one of my favorite games of all time. This is better, I think, than the Gale Force 9 Aliens game, because this is, you're not really playing the actual movies. This is literally like a scene-for-scene recreation of the movies, with the Marines in the reactor room, trying to escape the reactor room, and then the Marines trying to escape operations, or trying to survive on operations and get out through the air ducts. You're literally playing the movie in this, where this, it's like you're kind of playing the movie, but not with all the Marines that were historically in certain scenes, and there's a jillion fiddly cards. It's just a much more fiddly game. This, very streamlined, very simple, very elegant. And I had maps created. Over here are the various, mats laid out, but I had the maps for Aliens, the old Leading Edge Aliens. This is the operations map. This is the Air Ducts map. And here's the reactor room map with the stairs. I had these, somebody on Board Game Geek enlarged, like scanned and enlarged the maps. So now the Gale Force 9 miniatures will fit on this map. And so you can use the awesome minis that came with the Gale Force 9 game to actually play the old 1989 leading edge games, Aliens. And so that's been a lot of fun. I've played that with friends and guildmates, and I've really enjoyed it. We've got Seventh Continent there. Got the old Star Wars TCG from Fantasy Flight, which I should probably sell. I've played it, but it's been years now. I prefer Arkham Horror and The Lord of the Rings because they are like your co-op adventure games, whereas the Star Wars game is very much a head-to-head game. We got some more Gale Force 9 stuff up here with Dune and Firefly. The Doctor Who series, I've painted those as well, all the Doctors Who. My wife's a big Doctor Who fan, so we like playing that together. The Gru, that was a recent reprint, Kickstarted pickup. Watergate, surprisingly fun game on Watergate. I know I've talked on video before about, man, I wish somebody would make a Watergate game, and somebody did. Assorted odds and ends here. Talisman, I've painted a number of these. I think I've painted the main game, all the stuff in the main game. I think the Highland and the City. Maybe not these two, and then a couple of the smaller expansions. I don't know. I've probably painted maybe close to half of the Talisman minis, just because they're fun. They're small and they're easy and quick, so I can feel like I've accomplished a lot when I burn through a couple of those. Again, more odds and ends here, assorted Euros and Ameritrashy type stuff. My wife got this last year. She's also a big fan of like horror movies and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. The Thing, I've painted these as well, the minis for this, which is what these boxes are. Also a lot of fun. Had a great time with my local gaming group playing The Thing. I think we've played it enough times now that we've sort of cracked the code on it. So we don't have quite the hilariously outrageous endings that we had the first few times that we played it. People are a little more disciplined and now can kind of figure it out and get away without everybody losing by accident, by leaving somebody behind who turned out to be human, or inviting someone along who turned out to be an alien. Yeah, so more, and then getting less valuable as we get lower on the shelves to stuff at the bottom, or just what fits where. And then a couple more of those before we get into the minis stuff. Cursed City was what I think I might have painted. No, I painted Aliens and then enjoyed that so much. Cursed City is what sort of kicked me back into Warhammer. Not actual Warhammer, but Games Workshop stuff. So somebody on Board Game Geek was selling an old copy of the original Necromunda that was complete. So I always loved Necromunda, so you can see here I picked up more of these expansions. Haven't painted any of this stuff yet. Cursed City, fully painted. I was like, this is what started it all. I have to paint this. This was a Gen Con pickup at the TT Combat booth just because this game sounds fascinating. It's another one that who knows when I'll get around to painting it. Final Girl, these boxes are huge, so this is where they would fit. These are the first 2 seasons of Final Girl. The 3rd season is coming via Kickstarter, but I painted all the minis for these as well because my wife loves playing this. So it's nice for her to be able to play with the painted minis. Space Hulk, I've had that since 2014. I got it last time it was reprinted because it's been out of print for so long, and it is such a good game. And it's a shame I haven't painted it yet. It's one of those where I was intimidated and I wanted to improve my painting before I got around to painting it. And I just need to paint it. I need to not worry about how good I'm going to paint it and just paint it because nobody who plays is going to care. And then Warcry and the old Lord of the Rings. This stuff I had back, these were from the last time, back in 2003 or so, when last time I really painted Games Workshop stuff and took almost like a 17-year break from painting minis. All the HeroQuest stuff is up there. Here's my Forbidden Fortress minis painted here. Those didn't fit in the box very well. I didn't have good storage for them, so I put them out here. That's why I got the doors on one of these billy shelves. Then over here is just a random assortment of, like, there's some of the War of the Ring guys there, and then some of my old Lord of the Rings minis from 2003-ish, and a unit of Warhammer Fantasy Dark Elves from years and years ago. All my HeroQuest stuff that's painted fits in the box because HeroQuest comes with perfect storage for all your stuff. A bunch of Warhammer books here. Some historical stuff. I've got like Zulu and British armies there because I would like to do, and I've got the book for it here somewhere. Yeah, Black Powder, Zulu War era stuff, and then Blood and Steel, which is also Zulu War era stuff, and skirmish level. So that's what those are. Got the Judge Dredd starter set. Got some Aeronautica Imperialis, and then bunch of Blood Bowl stuff down here. Blood Bowl, one of my favorite games of all time. I had the second edition of it back when it came out in 88 or 89. Bought it when I was a kid and was obsessed with it. I have not painted the second season edition of Blood Bowl yet, but I have painted my teams for Dungeon Bowl, which I also really enjoyed when I was a kid. So that I have painted some, but not all, and also need to work out like storage for that stuff as well. So that is everything that's on the shelves. Sitting out here, I've got Clash of Sovereigns on the game table over here, tracking Callendale's video on it. Thought, well, if he can try it, if he's going to try it, I might as well try as well. It may be unplayable from the sounds of it. We will see. And then more table space over here. Usually I'm doing hobby stuff over here, or if I have people over and I've got stuff on the solo table already going, then I'll reserve this table for stuff that I'm playing with friends. If it's not something that we're playing upstairs, like something we might leave set up for a while. So anyway, that is it. The latest edition of the Game Room Tour. I don't know when I'll do it again. I'm not sure how much more this can change, how many more shelves I'm going to need to get before, the next step may be another 7 or 8 years from now, when we've actually redone the basement and remodeled it. And I can show it off to you again then, and we'll see what else has changed in terms of the collection. I do start to wonder if it can get any bigger. I mean, I really have reached a limit on certainly out-of-print wargame titles that I'm interested in. Everything now that I'm buying for wargames is pretty much new releases. So that certainly slows down. I was collecting a lot of those old out-of-print titles pretty rapidly over a number of years, and that's all slowed down now because I've bought pretty much everything out of print that I'm really interested in. So it's really just new things going forward, and the larger expansion over the past several years has been into the minis related stuff and new Ameritrash and Euro type games. So anyway, that is it. Thanks for watching.